Sedition charges are a BFD. The breakdown starts now. Good evening and welcome to The Breakdown. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Rick Wilson. And holy shit, what a news day. Holy cow, Rick Wilson. I mean,
yes,
like the fact that the defeated president's second impeachment anniversary is today is like the 25th thing down the list of news items is just extraordinary. There is so much going on.
It has been one of those days where you can't, every time someone texts you or calls you or signals you, did you see the story about, you're like, wait, what? Another one? Another thing?
Right.
What? It has been a target-rich media environment today.
It has. 2022, we thought 2021, the start off was crazy. 2022 said, hold my beer. It is in full force. So, I mean, we've had everything from Supreme Court rulings on the mandates to January 6th stuff to this Oath Keeper stuff to, it's been a lot. So, but tonight we're going to focus on a couple of things that are very on brand for the Lincoln Project. One being obviously the Oath Keepers news. Today, the leader of the Oath Keepers and several of his lackeys have been federally charged with seditious conspiracy. Yes, we finally have the Department of Justice charging people with a significant charge. That's right. They are finally getting off their ass and they've done something about this. Now, to all the people out there, and this includes a lot of folks on Facebook, people, my mom argues back and forth all the time with some of the people who are Trumpers on her Facebook page about, it was just a riot. You guys are overreacting. Nobody's charged insurrection or sedition. Well, that's over with. Because sedition
that was a favorite. That was a favorite excuse at the Federalist a few weeks ago. Like, well, no one has been charged with sedition, actually. Right. Therefore, au contraire, bitches.
Exactly. Britt Hume, you just tweeted out about how, nobody's been charged with this. Yeah, okay. A couple hours later, we got the sedition charge.
How'd that work out for you, Britt?
How'd that work out for you, buddy? I just don't understand it. All these people who have put their integrity, their reputations on the line to defend a violent, seditious insurrection attack on the Capitol. Okay, it was all of those things.
Look, folks.
It was on video. Like the revolution was on video. Okay, it was televised. So the people who continue to make excuses for this as if it were something that wasn't a big deal, it was inevitable that there would be egg on their face. I said this, I think, in the last show, or maybe it was the January 6th show about Merrick Garland, that a lot of us have been frustrated with him and the pace at which the Department of Justice has been moving with all of this. But I made the point, though, that he's very thorough. He has a lot of experience in this area. He has prosecuted domestic terror in the past, a la Oklahoma City. And there were never any leaks. He runs a tight ship. So even though it's been a year since January 6th, there was a lot of legwork and they wanted to make sure all their I's were dotted and T's were crossed. And today, this is a bigger deal, in my opinion, than anything that ever came out of the Mueller investigation.
Oh, I think that's right, Tara. And I think that this is the old phrase that the wheels of justice grind slow, but they grind exceedingly fine.
Indeed.
And, look, I've been frustrated with it too. Everyone has. Sure. Everyone has wanted to see a faster accountability for the people that did this. And I want to say this, if I tonight were Steve Bannon or Roger Stone or Ali Alexander or Alex Jones or Charlie Kirk or Jenny Thomas or anybody else involved in bringing the rioters and the seditious conduct actors into that space that day, I would be thinking about non-extradition treaty countries and a private jet charter. Now, Bannon, of course, he's
already in trouble.
Who is already in deep shit. I suspect if you can hold David Rhodes, of the Oath Keepers, who was not there at the Capitol, who was merely one of the puppet masters of this situation, if you can hold him if you can charge him with sedition, you can sure as hell charge Steve Bannon with sedition. And there is nothing on God's green earth I want to see more than Steve Bannon I mean, I know it's a wishful fantasy, and I always like to say, given a blindfold, a last cigarette, and a brick wall.
Right.
But I want to see Steve Bannon charged with sedition because he is, in fact, seditious.
Yes.
He is on the air every day saying the quiet part loud, seeking to overthrow the lawfully elected government of the United States of America. And frankly, the gibbet is more appropriate for people like that than a talk show.
Absolutely. And just a correction, it's Stuart Rhodes. So apologies
Stuart
to David
Rhodes.
Rhodes.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Before you go get anybody in trouble, it's Stuart
I
Rhodes.
tweeted the David Rhodes earlier, so there we go.
So, you brought a couple points up that I want to drill down on a little bit. You mentioned the name Ginny Thomas. For those who don't know who that is Clarence Thomas's wife. Yes, that Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court guy Clarence Thomas. Ginny Thomas is his wife. Now, I can tell you, as someone who spent a long time in the Republican circles, that Ginny Thomas has extraordinary influence in the inner core, inner circle of the Conservative Council on National Policy, ALEC, like all of those, the boogeymen of the right. Well, we see now that it's actually real. Like, we used to think, you want to hear something funny, Rick? I was going through, my mom has been visiting and she's been going through and like cleaning my house for me in areas where it's really cluttered, and I appreciate her for doing it. She was in my kitchen, and I have a lot of mugs. I'm a mug collector. Okay. I like hoard mugs. I buy all kinds of mugs all the time. Do you know what we found? A 2011 Wyrick dinner mug. And you know who the
was it
honoree?
Ginny?
No, the honoree that year was Foster Friess.
Oh my God.
Yes. Okay. So anyone who we're kind of nerding out on the conservative bona fides right now, but for anyone who ever questions my conservative bona fides, all you got to do is hold up that mug, because it doesn't get any more inner circle than the Wyrick Foundation dinner or the Wyrick lunches. And those who know. But I say that to say that we have big time people who have access to a lot of money. I want to know who's financing this. Follow the money on this. I suspect that the Ginny Thomases and the others who, the Publix heiress that donated a couple $100,000 to this, they may or not have known exactly what was going to happen, but they were still financing this. Who's financing the Oath Keepers?
Who's bringing in the buses?
That's right. Who's financing Charlie Kirk?
And TPUSA.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that out of their own pockets, folks.
No.
I promise you. They got a sponsor.
That's right.
I think when we get to the point where there's communication, and here's where the intersection is, folks. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers have ties to Roger Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Stone is one of the festering cancers at the heart of this entire conspiracy. I suspect we will get to the point where they're going to flip people up the chain. We will get there. Roger Stone was in contact with the White House in the night and the days before the attack.
Roger Stone and this Stuart Rhodes guy were seen at the Willard, right?
Correct.
We found out at the Willard
Correct.
Hotel was this command center,
right,
where all of these people were before January 6th happened. So we know that there's a tie there for sure, and so do the feds, I bet.
And believe me, this slow and steady sort of look, they're rolling these people up like any other terrorist organization, because that's what these people are. They are domestic terrorists.
Indeed.
And I got to tell you, I made this analogy the other day. If Steve Bannon was a radical Islamic radio host or podcast host every day saying, we're going to burn down this government, we're going to kill off the people who oppose us, we're going to knock them out, we're going to take them out, we're going to burn down and overthrow an election, you know where he'd be? Gitmo.
That's right. Or a black site.
He'd have a bag over his head in the back of an unmarked cargo aircraft. This is a group of people who believe in the violent overthrow of the U.S. government.
And they said so.
Right. And they say it every fucking day. And to that, I say, let justice come swift and with a sharp blade.
There's a couple other tidbits in reading through this indictment. And for those who've been following it, some of this really makes sense, because the reporting at the time, and I remember very clearly, there was reporting at the time, and I think, Rick, you and I might have even talked about this on the air last year, about reports of people set up around the city that had weapons caches ready to go, right? And they were waiting for the call that they needed to go in and for backup support or invade or whatever the hell they thought they were going to do. And including one in Arlington, right outside the city limits of DC. Well, it looks like that was accurate, because even though you said Stuart Rhodes wasn't physically at the Capitol, he was in the vicinity. He was in the area conducting things and directing things. And just so people understand, the charge of seditious conspiracy implies conspiracy, right? That means there's more than one person. All you need are a person plus one coordinating to have a conspiracy. And there were lots. There was more than just one. And there were several of them named in this indictment. And you don't have to be present to do it. Just think about terrorism. Just think about the unindicted co-conspirators of terrorist acts, and how they might not have been there. They might not have pressed the buttons or flew the plane into the building, but they're still a part of the conspiracy. That's significant. And I can tell you what else. The sentence is significant as well. This guy's looking at 20 years. And in the federal system, there is no parole. Okay. You serve like 90% of your sentence most times. So this is very, very serious. I'm here for it. It's long overdue. And I think that this is opening the door to a lot of other people, like you said, Proud Boys, 3%ers, the Roger Stones and all of them. They don't have Donald Trump to save their asses this time. They don't have that. There's not going to be any pardon coming.
And if I were you guys on the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, I would start snitching right now if I were you. Because you know what? They're going to find some people and make examples of them, and they're going to go down hard. And you may think you're a tough motherfucker. You may think you're a badass. You may think you're tooled up and you're ready to go. But most of you soft-ass Meal Team 6 motherfuckers are going to go to prison. It is not going to work out like you think. Federal time is hard time.
That's right. It's not all Camp
You're not going to get to Camp Cupcake. You're not going to go to Allenwood or Eglin. You're probably going to go somewhere like Florence. Have fun.
Florence is Supermax in Colorado. And you want to know a fun fact, Rick Wilson?
Sure.
I've been there.
Have you? Is it scary as hell?
I have to tell you, we will divert for a quick second. Do you want to hear the story?
Yeah.
So when I was working in Capitol Hill, the congressman I worked for, he was very into Oklahoma City. And so there was always a question of whether there was foreign involvement in Oklahoma City. And he did a really comprehensive investigation. It was quite fascinating. And he wanted to talk to one of the terrorists involved in the Bojinka plot, Ramzi Youssef. Ramzi Youssef.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so because Ramzi Youssef was a bomb maker, and there was some connection with what's his name?
McVeigh's
not
partner,
the other guy, right?
Had
Nichols.
some
Nichols.
Yeah.
Terry Nichols, who was over there in the Philippines, and what he was doing over there. Was he learning to build bombs? There's a lot of questions about that. So I was involved in this whole crusade, and we had to get permission because he was a special administrative status prisoner. It's a whole complicated thing. But a congressman is considered the same privileges as legal counsel. So, but we needed to get permission from the Department of Justice, from the Attorney General, to visit him, even though Ramzi Youssef gave permission. Well, here's the thing. Ramzi Youssef wrote a letter back to the congressman saying that he would absolutely meet with him. Come on over. I'll meet with you. I'll talk with you. And then P.S., by the way, I think you're beautiful. The congressman was Dana Rohrabacher. Okay. And Dana, right, is a unisex name. So I, at the time, had been on television a lot because of my advocacy for the Border Patrol agents who had been wrongfully imprisoned and prosecuted, right? So obviously Ramzi Youssef thought it was me who was coming to see him.
This is one of those stories. Where it's a meet cute story, only he's in a Supermax.
So when people say what's a strange fact about, so somebody wouldn't know, a horrible Islamic jihadist terrorist thinks I'm beautiful, and God knows what he was thinking about in his jail cell writing that letter to me. But that's not who we ended up going to see, because the Attorney General would not grant us permission. We ended up going to see a mafia guy who had done time with Ramzi Youssef in New York, and had said that he had information about things about Ramzi Youssef.
They all do.
So, right. So we flew out there and to Denver and drove from Denver to Florence, Colorado, and actually went inside Supermax to interview this mafia hitman guy who was stationed out there. And I have to tell you, it gave me the willies walking through those doors, because the worst of the worst of the worst are in that facility. And I just thought to myself, my God, the level of evil that is inside this building it was hard to quantify. It was crazy. I should post that picture in front of the Supermax sign as a Throwback Thursday. Maybe I'll do it after the show.
My prison story, years ago, I was filming a series of ads for an attorney general candidate, and we were given permission to shoot inside of a state prison. However, the rules said we couldn't show the prisoners. We could show the buildings, and we could show the cells and the towers. So there is a piece of ad footage of me wearing an orange prison jumpsuit, shaved head, behind the bar, staring out with this maniacal look on my face. I'll find it and post it.
Oh,
but it is hilarious.
We have to post our dueling federal prison photos.
I mean, it was like I literally went to a drugstore. I was like, razor blade in my head.
Oh my God.
Down. It was great.
It was a harbinger of what was to come with your hair, unfortunately.
Right?
That was
but at least I've stayed out of prison, so there's something. It says something.
Not if QAnon has anything to say about it, Rick Wilson.
Yes. My favorite QAnon meme, by the way, there's a picture of me from one of my book promo pictures, and I've got a blue and white striped shirt on. And on Jeffrey Epstein's island, his sex temple has blue and white stripes, and the one's like, "This is a clear signal." I'm like, yes, God. It's a clear signal that I bought a shirt at Brooks Brothers.
Right. For God's sakes, they'll find a conspiracy theory in anything. It's insane. Anyway,
folks,
the bottom line is
the prison divergence.
Right, but the bottom line is, it ain't pretty in prison. I've been inside several federal prisons, including segregated units. That's solitary confinement, and that's no place anybody wants to be. And they deserve to be there because they're treasonous bastards. Next up, speaking of treasonous bastards, January 6th committee heating up. We know that there's some more subpoenas out there. We know that Kevin McCarthy now is tripling down and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to cooperate. This is, an government overstep." He's basically giving the finger to the committee. And they're like, okay. They're looking into whether they're actually going to subpoena members of Congress. This has been litigated in the past, Rick. Yeah. I mean, Congress has legitimate oversight, even over their own members. They can expel them. So
here's
I don't know what they're trying to run out the clock is what they're doing.
Here's what I'm wondering about, Tara. So Kevin McCarthy, on the one hand, is saying that if they take over next year, they're going to investigate. They're going to investigate, all Pelosi. These things about the squad and Pelosi and Adam Schiff and Eric
and kick them off committees.
Right, and take them off committees, but they're going to investigate them. They're saying they're going to investigate. So how are they going to do that? So let's say next year they say, Adam Schiff, we want to talk to you about whatever. And he goes, okay, no, fuck you. What do you think they do then? All of a sudden, I guarantee you, they will rediscover the amazing powers of
Sergeant at Arms.
Subpoenas.
And of the Sergeant at Arms. Don't think they won't hesitate to send the Sergeant at Arms to go arrest members of Congress. Of course they will.
Absolutely.
It'd be great performative politics, performance art for them.
And that's all they do.
That's exactly right. And how do we know that? Well, because we know that they have no legislative agenda. They've already said this. And you know what else they said? We just saw this today. They're not going to participate in presidential debates either.
Which blows me away.
What?
I mean, come on. That to me is, well, and I'll tell you, this goes hands in glove with something. I'll break a little news here. I spoke to a friend of mine who is a former state party chairman, not in Florida, another state, who said to me, yeah, the current party is just going to eliminate the primaries so that Trump doesn't have to spend any money or run. And, if you don't do debates and you don't do primaries and you just have a guy who is the dear leader who's not going to be opposed or debated.
That's the point.
There it is.
That's the point.
What they don't want is for even one Republican to be on that stage with Donald Trump and for the moderator to say, Senator so-and-so, was Donald Trump legally elected or was Joe Biden legally elected? They don't want that.
That's right.
And they don't want to have Trump have to answer questions on that same stage. It's
extraordinary how obvious what they're doing is. I mean, people complain about the two-party system, and there are legitimate complaints there. But it has been successful in the operation of it for the most part for 150 years.
Yep.
Okay. And there's a reason for that. There's a certain order, right? There's a certain mechanisms in place that keep things orderly. There's a reason you have primaries. There's a reason you have presidential debates. There's a reason why, so that the public can see what's happening, so that the press can hold them accountable. They answer questions in a public forum, because we're supposed to be an open society. That's what you do in a constitutional republic. What the Republicans are doing every day is less and less democratic. Low D, little d.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're proud of this. They're wearing this as a badge of valor at this point. And then you have the other side. You have the Democrats who can't, they can't shoot straight. And it's very frustrating, because there are so many people who are politically homeless at this point that don't know what to do. And we've got to make sure that even though the Democrats may be doing things that we don't agree with policy-wise, or they, like I said, they can't get their acts together and agreeing on certain policy things or whatever.
Can't organize a two-car motorcade, as I like to say.
That's right. But they are not trying to do things that are antithetical to our Constitution and our democracy.
Right.
And that is the big difference here, which is why 2022 is so critically important. Kevin McCarthy, we have been ahead of the curve on this, folks. Okay. The Lincoln Project has been way ahead of the curve, predicting what would happen if Republicans get control of the House again. This was just theoretical. It was our gut based on what we'd seen. Now it's not theoretical anymore. They're telling you, they're telegraphing what they're going to do. I pray to God, Rick, that our Democratic friends understand this and message the hell out of it, and remind the American people that this is what you're going to get if they get power. Screw the freaking tax cuts.
Folks, listen. It's not going to be about prescription drugs.
That's right.
It's not going to be about Build Back Better. It's not going to be about all the things you would love it to be about, climate change or gun control or anything else. It is going to be a choice between whether this country remains as a republic under democratic principles, or whether we slip into authoritarianism. I'm not trying to panic you.
Right.
I'm just trying to be as blunt as I can. All the signs are there. All the things are there. When the bad guys tell you over and over again, this is the presidential decision brief a few days before 9/11. Bin Laden determined to attack U.S. Okay, Bannon determined to burn down U.S. government. You have a choice between imperfection and violent revolution. You have a choice between a system you may not love and things you don't get out of your way every day, or an authoritarian statist regime that is going to do things that will make you absolutely recoil in terror. It's a big deal. And
once you get there, it's very difficult to reverse that,
right.
Which is why we are always heeding the warnings here and sounding the alarm, because we don't want to get to that point.
Right. And it also happens faster than people think. Normalcy bias is a great drug.
Yeah.
But, as Hemingway said about bankruptcy, it happens slowly and then all at once.
That's right.
Okay.
You know what else happens slowly and all at once, Rick? When Donald Trump decides that he wants to come for the knees of his perceived enemies. And another thing that we have been ahead of the curve on, is predicting that Donald Trump would eventually tire of all the attention that Ron DeSantis has been getting down there in Florida. We all know there's no secret that Ron DeSantis wants to run for president. And he has been trying to become the next darling of Fox News. And he continues to act like a jackass to the most, to normal people. But this is great stuff for his constituency. Well, Donald Trump hasn't liked it. And one of the latest things in your home state there, Rick, which I had the chance to visit over the New Year, it was lovely. Ron DeSantis would not answer whether he has gotten the vaccination or not. And so,
spoiler, he has.
Right. And so the president now, former president, the defeated guy, he did an interview with NPR, and now he's all about the vaccines, right? He's all about the vaccines now. Why? Of course, because he wants credit for it. So he thinks this is going to give him, credit. He hasn't been doing anything lately. So now he's all about vaccines. And he came out and said that, DeSantis or anyone else. He didn't name them though. But all these people who won't just say that they got the vaccine, they're gutless. They're gutless, and called them all kinds of names. He also went after Mitch McConnell and called Mitch McConnell all kinds of names. I do remember that we have put out several little ads about this little rip.
Why, yes, we have.
Yes, we have. We've also put something out about DeSantis that we did months ago that I want to remind people of. Just, make it today, put it in today's context, but it's still relevant. Let's run it.
Hey, Donald. No, we didn't forget about you. Though a lot of people are trying to. People who owe you. People you made. People like Ron DeSantis. Without you, he'd be nothing. A loser. But now he's the next big thing. He's making it his Republican Party. Everyone says he's better than you. Bigger than you. Smarter than you. Thinner than you. Don't take our word for it. Just watch Fox. He's on all the time. All the time. You, not so much. Rupert Murdoch and Fox picked DeSantis over you for 2024. Sad. Ron is running for president, and with Fox's help, he'll beat you. DeSantis doesn't need you. He even came to New Jersey, just down the road from Bedminster, and didn't pay his respects. And there's nothing you can do about it.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm gonna put that ad up again next week in Palm Beach. I'm gonna put that ad up again next week in Palm Beach.
We have to, because we all know that's our audience of one strategy, which has driven Trump crazy and will continue to, especially that because he's got DeSantis on the brain. You know who else has been geofencing Palm Beach and running ads?
Oh yes,
our favorite Tits McGee out there in Nevada.
Tits McGee, the store-boughts.
This crazy chick out here out there in Nevada that's running for governor, right? She's running for governor in Nevada. And she spent, just a report came out, she spent $62,000 on ads running just in Palm Beach. You're running for Nevada governor?
As Reed said today,
that's right.
She learned how to do it from us.
That's
I learned it from watching you.
Good luck with that, sweetheart. Oh my God. It might work. It might just work. She might get his attention, but for God's sakes. But again, something else we were ahead of the curve on. You know who else? We've been driving this wedge. There's a reason, because the Republicans, as long as they're fighting each other, they don't have time to fight the Democrats. So another person, which I'm not surprised, Lady Lindsay Graham was on Fox News last night going after McConnell now. Why is he going after McConnell? Because his master went after McConnell on NPR, and now Lindsey Graham is picking up his bone from Trump and went on Hannity.
Can we never talk about Lindsey Graham's bone again?
God, there's been a theme this week, people. There's been a theme. So Lindsey Graham went on and he actually said, I'm not going to vote for anybody for Senate leader as a Republican unless they can prove to me that they can advocate for an America First agenda and have a working relationship with President Trump, because if you can't do that, you will fail. Really? Lindsey Graham, who owes his entire Senate career to John McCain and Mitch McConnell, is now saying that he's not going to side with Mitch McConnell. He's siding with Donald Trump in the Senate because that's what Lady Lindsay does. Well, we have a little something to say about that. Roll it.
I want you to use my words against me. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell. I think he's crazy. Donald is like being shot in the head. If Donald Trump cares to banner my party, I think it taints conservatism for generations to come. The leader of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, he's the most consequential Republican since Ronald Reagan. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot. You know what concerns me about the American press is this endless attempt to label the guy as some kind of kook, not fit to be president. I think he's a kook. He's not fit to be president of the United States. He's a jackass. Yeah, I like the president. I'm saying my party is completely screwed up. And you could use my words against me and you'd be absolutely right.
These people are shameless, Rick.
That's a feature, not a bug, though, of Lindsay at this point.
Yes.
He is, there are people in the Senate. There are people in the Senate that always thought Lindsay was sort of the pilot fish of John McCain. He's like
admitted that too, by the way.
Like the parasite, who followed John McCain.
Maybe not
around.
in those words.
He is a lost child, though. Now for considering he's a 65-year-old man, he's a lost boy. He doesn't understand what to do or where to go with anything. He can't find his way out of, because he doesn't believe that, but his sense of expediency is so profound. Lindsay, bitch, you're not up for 4 more years. You can relax, unwind a little bit, be yourself. But on the other hand, he can't.
Right. It's been a struggle for a long time. And it's does he really think that people believe him now versus before? I mean,
were you lying then or are you lying now?
It can't be both ways. He just looks like a complete, well, the jackass that he is. And to your point, Rick, he admitted that he needed a larger fish to, hook onto in an interview on The Daily last year, when people were wondering, or 2020 actually, when people were wondering. I encourage folks to go back and listen to it. Who runs The Daily? That's a New York Times thing. Michael Barbaro, right?
Michael Barbaro.
Yeah. Because people were wondering what the hell happened to Lindsey Graham, right? Because he used to be this tough talking guy. Yeah, when he had swagger next to John McCain, riding McCain's coattails. And he admits that he needed to be relevant, and that without John McCain, he needed to find the next person to latch onto. And it's clear. How does anybody respect that? I just don't know how he sleeps at night, knowing that he's such a duplicitous jerk off. I don't understand how people sleep at night doing this. But I also don't know. And before we end the show, I want to get this in. Your favorite Facebook and other social media platforms.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of people, I don't know how they sleep at night. The January 6th committee has now subpoenaed them. They've subpoenaed Meta, which is the new Facebook parent company name, Google, and who else? Reddit. There you go. So and Google, Google's Alphabet, Twitter, Reddit, all of them. That's interesting to me too, because what did they know and what did they allow on their platform, even though it was against the rules? How much money were they making from the ads or from whatever was going on? Why were they allowing this? Because we all know that so much of this was coordinated over social media. So,
I say this very frequently, Tara, and I absolutely mean it. If Facebook tomorrow wanted to end the anti-vax movement in this country, it would take a few keystrokes and a few clicks of the mouse on their platform. They could do it tomorrow.
Yep.
They could end it tomorrow, immediately. It would take no effort whatsoever. They know the keywords, they know the groups, they could easily do it. I predict we will find out that their platforms were used to rally these people, including a lot of these folks who were engaged in violent, seditious conduct. And I predict we're going to see that that all the platforms have a great deal of exposure on this, but I think Facebook probably more than any other. And
they know it. They've been sweating this for quite some time, and they
but
don't.
But then again, Facebook has more lobbyists in Washington, D.C. Yeah. This is a true story, folks. They have more lobbyists in D.C. than any other association or group, bar none.
Yeah.
Bigger than the automakers, bigger than any other company or any other industry. They have hired an army of lobbyists. And by the way, their lobbyists range from the most progressive AOC, Ilhan Omar squad type super hyper liberals to the craziest batshit Rand Paul libertarians and Trumpers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about anything except Facebook.
That's
so
right.
They've thrown money at the problem, which is one of the reasons I'm fundamentally disappointed about, whether or not we're going to ever see any meaningful change in Washington on the legislative side against Facebook and its role in things like anti-vaccination and conspiracy.
Well, according to Kevin McCarthy, if they get in, big tech, is a big villain for them until they're not.
Yeah, until they're not.
Until they're not.
Believe me, it's the story of Mark Zuckerberg. The guy was going to be public enemy number one until he came to the White House and kissed the ring for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a quiet, tacit arrangement where Mark let Facebook turn into a giant sewage treatment plant, only with no treatment and just more sewage on the Trump side. So.
Mm-hmm. The to be continued on all.
To be continued, and folks, this is one of those days you should look at it as a day where the good guys put some points on the board.
Absolutely. And we're grateful for that. And thank you for being part of the good guy team with us. And with that, we leave you for this week. Who knows what happens for between now and Tuesday, but we wish everybody a great weekend. Stay safe, please. And on Tuesday, we will be talking
so
voting
smart.
rights. Yes, we've got
We had her
Professor
before. She's
Fernita
brilliant.
Tolson.
Yeah.
Professor Fernita Tolson is brilliant. We're going to be talking voting rights next week, because that was another thing happening today. Going on now is the debate in Congress over voting rights. And, there's an impasse in the Senate and the filibuster and all of that going on. So next week, Fernita's coming back in to chat with us about what's going on, and we can break it down for you guys. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday. We'll see you then.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.